Good morning, everyone. I'm going to do this video for Matt. This is my response to reality junkies should always come back to the eclipse. And I'm going to step off here. I usually keep my peace on this subject because there's such a diverse community on YouTube that get offended. There are many of them. They get offended. Christians, religious people of all kinds to start with. And then you have the flat earthers, they get offended. The Nibiru people get really upset with me, Planet Xers, whatever. So I generally just keep to what I know. And I try not to get involved in that argument because I can easily see their point of view. But when you get locked into one frame of mind, one way of looking at things, then you're not allowing any other concepts to come in. All they're doing is what I call apologetics. They can come up with a million excuses as to why they're telling you what they're telling you is true. Now I'm going to come back to what I always say: we've been asking the wrong questions. Let's take a look at a minute and ask, what are we actually saying when we talk about looking at the nature of reality? Let's discuss the word nature and reality. Let's go to my paint. All right. In reality, we have the real. That's two words, actually. It's not one. It's to do again what is above. That is above. To me, this represents above the zodiac, above the macros, the heavens. If it's the A is on this side, then it's below. That's why Allah is the word that's as above, so below. That's all that means. But it's the to do again the owl. We have this whole cycle. That's what I call this current existence is a cycle, because in the Bible we're told to replenish the earth, to do it again. Genesis 1 is a story of destruction. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and that was good. And it became void. The word was should be the word became. It became void and without form. The word void, it meant catapult, overthrow. It's tuhu vuhu. And it means to throw over. So there was a creation that was good, and it was overthrown. It was overthrown. And then he restores it. He puts light here. This word light is separate from the sun and the moon. All we can see are replications. This place, I don't even like using the word reality because it's real, above the I, which is the I, the T, which is the cross, and the Y, which is the man. So it's the eye of the man on the cross and the zodiac again. And that's what reality actually means to me. Nature. You see, when you say the reality of the nature of reality, you're putting a confinement on reality. Because nature is one reality, but there are others. And that's the problem. There are many realities. That's why all things are relative from perspective. That's why some people see round earth, and some people see hollow earth, and some people see flat earth. And I can put them all together, round, flat, hollow, domed, and I see an eyeball. That's what I see when I put all these concepts together. It's the big picture. It's putting the pieces of the puzzle together. People are running around. They found one piece of the puzzle and they're going, I've got it. I've got it. This is it. See, this is the piece. This is the missing piece. It's still only one piece. What we need to be trying to look at is the big picture. The big picture. We need to ask questions like, who came up with this concept of God? Who come up with this? I mean, I can think back as a child, and before I was taught this concept of God, I didn't know what God was. I didn't know we were created. I didn't know how we came into being. All I knew is I was put here. And I remember being put here. And that this is not where I'm from. And this body is, I don't like it. It's like being in death to me. I don't like being in the body. It's a trap. So ask yourselves, we have to try to look back into the time, look back in time at the mind, the collective consciousness, and try to come up with some concepts of how did religion even come into being? Where do we get this concept of nature, God, and that there's only one reality? You know, people go around, they'll bash the Bible, and they don't have a clue. What they're actually bashing are man's interpretation of the Bible, when they've never really taken a look at it or studied it for themselves. I don't bash Christians. They're just sheep. Bah! They're following the herders in the church. And what does the sheep herder do? He takes them to the water and lets them drink. He's supposed to protect them from the wolves, but then he's fleecing them, right? He's only got them there so he can keep them for their wool and for their meat, for what they can give to him, not to each other. This whole concept. When I learned alchemy and finally learned how to read the Bible, a lot of that was cleared up for me. But I have to go on what I know. And what I know is that nothing is impossible in this place. Are there aliens? If people believe there are aliens, there are. Is this place flat? If you believe it is, then your world is flat. My dad was a man of very few words. Brilliant man, genius, mechanical engineer, frickin' genius. And he taught me mechanics that I am forever grateful for. Because when you understand how something works, then you get it. And I learned mechanics before I started school. I was always at my dad's foot, and I was his go-to. I was the boy. I was his boy. And I knew every frickin' tool in the box, standard, metric, everything, what it did. And he actually took the time to tell me how all of this works. And I get it. I get the difference in the way energy is produced and how to harness it. It's one thing to produce energy, but it's a different thing to harness that energy. And that's really what all of this is about. When you talk about the nature of reality, you're talking about the construct of the physical world. And this is only a very small part. We can look around us. There's more space. When we look into atoms and microscopes, there's space between everything. There's more space than there is matter. The question should be, what the hell is matter? And what is other than matter? They want to use this word antimatter. The antimatter came first, if that's what you want to call it. I don't like the word. To me, when you say true reality. I mean, what the hell is that? Really, what are you saying there? This goes so deep. Even if it's a hologram, that's a type of reality, is it not? And then some of us who remember before the Mandela affected, before whatever it was, that the event that occurred, that changed, the shift that changed everything that nobody seemed to notice, we remember the blue skies and the yellow sun. We remember what the wind felt like in your face. We remember the other world, the other reality. Reality is only a perception from one point of view. You know, Einstein was really given to us as part of the programming. There's no doubt about that. But there's truth in everything if you can see within it. And the only way you can find the truth of you is to look within you. I can look within you when I look at your charts, but it's you that needs to be looking within you, not me. I can only show you how. That's what I'm attempting to do here on this channel, is show how to know you. Once you know you, then this reality and the argument about what is it is irrelevant. It doesn't even come into play. When we talk about gods or creators, plural, there are many. There are basically 4 powers in this system. And they're all dualistic. And that's earth, water, air, and fire. That is nature. This is the nature of this reality. It's earth, it's water, it's air, and it's fire. It's divided between masculine and feminine, and they change places. It's like a record that goes around and around. It's a fractal that plays over and over in different variables. If you want to call that a simulation, then it is a simulation. It can be looked at in many ways. It's all things. It's all things. I need to pause. In fact, if we look at the wheel here, our little alchemical magic circle, just one glimpse at it should tell you reality changes. Just like everything else, reality changes. Our current reality is, we used to be in water world, right? Pisces. Now we're between 2 worlds. We're in the transition period. We're in the eclipse. Eclipse is when 2 things come together. It's the conjunction junction. What's your function? To me, we were taught everything on Sesame Street and PBS back in the 70s, when they were actually telling us everything. We just didn't hear it. So the nature of reality changes with every age. And then the transition between the ages. This transition period takes 216 years for it to finish. You have a melding period of 72 years going in on this side of the line. Then the line itself, 1 degree, is 72 years. And then you have the blend on the other side, which is another 72 years. And then you walk into another reality. We've been in water world. We're going to heaven. And then we'll have heaven on earth, Capricorn. This is the nature, earth, fire, water, air. These are the powers. You know, they say they will call him Emmanuel. That's the Old Testament name. And we don't use that. They gave you Jesus. I'm telling you Thalem because that's the Arabic term. But Emmanuel is the fifth manual. The Bible is a freaking manual, not a religious book. It's a manual. And we're waiting on the fifth manual, the Emmanuel. We're told about it in the red words that go with the red age, the red sun. We've been in the age of the white sun. We're moving to the red sun. And the power will shift. And reality will change. And we'll see it in a whole new way. The trick is, if you want to know the true nature of reality, you must be able to see it from fixed air, cardinal earth, mutable fire, fixed water, cardinal air, mutable earth, fixed fire, cardinal water, mutable air, fixed earth, cardinal fire, mutable water. When the mutable cross is the hardest to get through, because it demands change, mutation, transmutation. We are becoming. And we were really held back. For this whole age, it's an age of illusion and delusion, and we were held back. We were lied to. We were given religion. And now we're in the transition period, and we're moving so fast that it is hard for the mind of man to conceive the transition period of the nature of reality. And what is real? None of this is real to me. Nature is unfreaking real. It's natural, it's unnatural, it's supernatural, especially in the age of the mutable cross. But we're coming into a fixed age. In the Nag Hammadi, they call it the race of the unshakable or unmovable man. The unshakable race of humanity. Fixed. You're not, that's Taurus and Leo and Scorpio and Aquarius on that fixed cross. They're the masters. Thalem means master. And that's exactly what the disciples called the guy with the Emmanuel, the fifth manual, the fifth book. We're at the one, this is 4, 3, 2, 1, right? The age, the world was destroyed here, and reality changed again as it came into the mutable cross. The heavens changed here. Had to have a new map, a new zodiac, a new way of looking at the heavens, a new story, a new Bible, a new scroll. And then we had fixed earth. And then the purifier, cardinal fire. And then the people again, waters, the mutable people, the mutable waters. But now we're going into fixed air. This is going to really rock some people's boats. You people in the water, it's going to rock your boat when we move into the age of air, because then the concept of reality as we know it will be completely different than the way we perceive it now. I can't even begin to explain to you. The Emmanuel tells us it is beyond our imagination. And I got a pretty wild imagination. I can frickin' go places in my mind that most people would never dream of. I can go to dark places. I can create worlds in my head. So I can imagine pretty big. And so it excites me when I'm told that it is beyond my imagination. My understanding of the all or the source is what I would refer to, for lack of better terminology, as the cosmic mind, the overmind, the one mind, the first mind. The first thought comes from the first mind. That ability to critically think. And it is not consciousness our consciousness, that's all we are. We're really just consciousness. And we are trapped in these bodies in water world. I'm convinced that it's water itself that causes the consciousness to be trapped in the body. The water's the trick. This age is a trick, and it traps you in the body, which is carnal. The body is called carnal. We're at the carnal veil. We're at the carnival. The carnal, the body, is the veil. It's a water veil. We're at Waterville, USA, right? Y'all ever been there? I know some of you have. Waterville, USA. It's a fun place to be. It's a fun place to go. The carnival can be fun, but it seems for the life of us, they don't want to do nothing but keep us in the horror house and show us the most wicked debauchery ever conceived in the mind of man. Media is lost it. It went to the darkness. Media, there's no light in it. It's a false light. But this construct, it's hard to see when you're within unless you go within. You need to connect with you and your higher mind, your higher self. The third eye is like your cell phone to God, okay? You want to communicate with the cosmic mind, the higher self, you have to go through, that's your cell phone. You can beat on that Bible all day long. You can get on your knees and pray and beg all day long. That's not going to change anything. You cannot fight the nature, the reality in the world around you. It is the distraction. You can argue about it forever. That's not going to change your current status of the situation that you're in. The only way that's going to change is if you go within, and nobody can do that for you but you. Nobody can do it. There are many in the past that have come along and told you how to do it. There are many ways to do it. And we're warned of the broad path. The many ways. The broad ways. We're to go on the straight and narrow path. Straight up the middle pillar. And the middle pillar in Freemasonry, hold on. Alright, Freemasonry. Tracing board. It's in all of them. It's in all of them. It is a representation. This is incredible. I just done a chart. Matter of fact, it's the last chart I did. And it was for a child. It was for a child. So I'm so excited about the generation that's being born right now. The generation from right after 9/11, actually. When Pluto entered into Scorpio, that generation. They're the generation of the hero's journey. And in a chart, I saw the microcosm in the macrocosm. It was quite incredible. You have the 7 stars in a Freemason always represents the Pleiades, so that you know they're talking about Orion and Taurus, because it is Earth, right? That's an Earth sign. It's the black in the black and white. It's the black. I love this one because they've put Aquarius, the symbol of Aquarius, around it. They embedded it over it. The sun pillar, the moon pillar, and when the two become one is how they represent it, right? That's eclipse. It's the masculine and the feminine. It's fire and water. It's the sun and the moon. The moon rules water. It's part of the trap. It's the moon that rules water. The sun rules the fire signs with Jupiter and Mars. The moon rules the water signs with Jupiter and Mars. Jupiter and Mars, this is their deal. Jupiter and Mars represent the age of fire and Aries and water and Pisces, and they joined forces, and that's what Freemasonry is. Freemasonry is the outcome of the Game of Thrones. You had the battle between two ages. They joined forces, they joined their knowledge together. It's the battle of fire and ice. Now their middle pillar, the third eye, is actually an eclipse because they're showing you the sun and the moon. But this guy's showing you the real third eye. It's the center. But they bring the two together, like tearing down the Twin Towers, making the two one. They should have done it in conjunction with a changing of a Saturn-Jupiter conjunction for a trauma effect, when they would have had much more effectiveness had they done it on an eclipse. Eclipses are everything. It's the two becoming one. It's the outside coming like the inside, and the inside becoming like the outside. It's making the two one, within and without. Now, every Freemason tracing board has, it points to the east. The bottom is west, and the top is east. It doesn't point north. That's the perspective given to humanity. You're told north is up. That's what you're told. And that's the way they show us our zodiacs too. They want to show us this north is up, right? We start our calendar here in Capricorn. Actually, we don't. The solstice happens way over here, almost in Scorpio. It's in Sagittarius. And so is January 1st. It's the 13th, the 14th. Actually, the day moved 1 degree because of the tsunami that happened, that wiped out the South Pacific. It threw the Earth off 1 degree. And so everything shifted by 1 degree, which really sped up this timeline over here. It's like there was no middle ground. We went from here, from the blend on this side to the blend on this side. And that's why it's so drastic. And that's why we notice it. It was supposed to be subtle, but they've had to pace the ages, the space age, to pace the ages. And they've had to speed us up because we were held back for so long. That's why many won't make it into the next stage. They're actually going to have a mental breakdown. You call it zombie, where they zone out, or whatever you want to call it. But they're not going to be able to, they're so focused on their perception of reality. Oh, it's flat. Oh, it's round. Oh, it's this. It's that. It's none of the above, and it's all of the above. It is definitely... when you talk about the way the stars roll around in the heavens and they make all these patterns and they do everything in junction, know their function, then you see the fractal and you see how things repeat but in variables. So there's a time and a place for everything under the sun. And this is the story. This is the script. It's nature. It's earth, water, fire, and air. It's in all of its variables, fixed, mutable, cardinal. Nothing is left out. Now, in this age, we're required to change. We were supposed to purify in this age. Instead, it created evil. There was no sin without the law. It created evil. When you create one side, if you create something good, its dualistic nature appears at the opposite point. That's the way this reality works. We're in duality. But we're coming into a time that's called fixed. And we're coming into an age where two ages are one. Where the masculine and feminine are one, where Capricorn and Aquarius are one. It's the age of Pan. They want to invert it, pervert it, and give you Baphomet. We started out on the right path. We had Pan American Airlines. We had the Pan American Highway. All that mentality, that reality has been overlaid with a different one. And it's from the rulers of these two ages, which are Asia and Europe. They're the ones in control right now. Asia and Europe. And even Taurus. All of the previous ages have their piece of pie. The last air age, they're on the bottom rung. They're at the bottom. This thing keeps building on top of itself. We could look at it in a linear construct where we lay it out flat. We cut the zodiac and we lay it out flat. And when this one piece is at the front, and when it's done its turn, it goes to the end. The first will be the last. It goes back to the beginning and waits its turn in line again. We're at the carnival and we keep getting back in line and going round the merry-go-round. That's the nature of this reality. It's nature. And that's the only reality we have here. It's nature. Nature has been overlaid with a construct of a man-made reality based on technology. The New World Order, it's different. It's a combination of all the ages before it, but it's a technocracy. It's not a democracy. It's where the corporations and their power of technology rules. Hence, media. They have a tightrope on all technology. And that's the false construct. Nature is the original construct, this one. They mimic theirs on it, right? They mimic the age of water. They mimic the age. Look at our televisions now. They're that liquid crystal display, right? Liquid. Their war and their firepower. Their control over earth and air and water, right? All of our armed forces, our powers. They have earth, water, air, and fire. And they've become beyond amphibious. You move from water to the land, to the air. All with this, done by this firepower. Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. Mars, the Sun, and Jupiter. Yet, all of this power is run by the Moon, the Sun, Mars, and Jupiter in this reality, but they blame all the evil on Saturn. That tells me one thing. They know it's fixing to change. It tells me another thing. They're afraid. When 99% of the time, the reason people lie is not to get 99% of the time it's out of fear. There's 1% of the time you're lied to so somebody can make a profit or gain off of you. But just that spontaneous, those lies we tell, you can say, oh, so-and-so told a lie to impress someone. Oh, that goes back to fear. Because they're afraid for them to know the truth. So they make something up, right? Fear. So that's why people lie. And the media is a big fat liar. And the government's a big fat liar. And the churches are big fat liars. And so that tells me they're very, very, very afraid. And if you have that concept and understand that, it empowers you, because it's you they're afraid of. It's you really waking up that they're afraid of. And you don't have to wake up and even go scream to the world. It terrifies them that you're aware of what you can actually accomplish in this nature of reality. You see, we know they have harnessed all this power of this mechanism. This is how the power is created, and they know how to harness it. Well, so can we. We can do this too. They call it science because they don't want you to understand it's a seance. Science started around a table talking to the spirits of the stars that are in the heavens. There are archons and spirits behind these stars. We house their personalities within us. You get yourself the Knights of the Round Table. You need a Taurus person, an Aries person, a Pisces person. You want one of everybody. You want the 12 tribes. And you have the seance. And they tell you, you get the one to open the third eye. You can ask any question. The answer is given. How do I manipulate this reality? John D. Let's talk about John D for a minute, because he actually does reveal to us, if you paid attention in his work, of why they were doing what they were doing. What's the main objective? And the question that he sought to have answered was, how do we get off this planet or out of this reality? The answer he was given was, first, you must learn how to turn matter into energy. And then you must reverse that and learn how to turn energy into matter, or to manifest. That's how you change or get out of this reality. That was always been the answer. It's, you don't change the world around you. You change you. Just like I learned this past week. I actually started my new year on the solstice. And I started being grateful for every little thing I could think of. And when you're grateful, it evokes happiness in you. And it takes the burden and the weight off of you. And you feel better. You feel free. Nobody's put the chains of bondage on you but you. We all have that bag of rocks, that sack of rocks we carry around with us. And they're our complaints. They're our frustrations. They're the things we ponder on and worry about. They're the things that make us angry. The things we react to. We're all actors reacting from the script. And they scribbled the script. Remember, the script is scribbled. You have to be able to unscribble it. The scribes are in control. They're the ones who can, it's like a computer programmer, right? The one writing the code. He's in control of this nature of reality. Well, there's a higher code. It's the program. It's up here. We had a manual. They scribbled it and lied to us, so now we don't know how to read the code. But we can seance, we can try the spirits to see if they be of God, the cosmic mind, or if they be of man. Anything in this reality is created by only two sources, the two matrices. The one created by nature and the forces above, reality, or the one constructed by the minds of men. The nature from above, it's very freeing. It tells you who you are and why you're here, and the rest of it don't matter. You know, the only reason they have power is because you observe them. If everybody would turn off the television, it would all end. That's their link in. That's their pipeline you're connected to, is the media, the newspapers, the television. Their construct. They keep reinforcing it on a daily basis from every angle. The channels are unlimited. They've got something for everybody. no matter what you like or dislike. Watch this black box. Don't dare close your eyes and look at your own black box. You might figure something real about this reality and about yourself. To me, it's all fake. You can describe it in any way you like. It can be flat, it can be round, all of that is completely 100% irrelevant. I have the same question John D. has. How do we get out of here? How do I change this place? You learn to turn matter into energy. That's easy. We can burn a piece of wood all day long. It's harnessing that energy. And then reverse it. Take the energy that you've harnessed and turn it into matter. That's molecular deconstruct and reconstruct. Molecular, from the most minute particle, to be able to deconstruct it, to reconstruct it. And that's how I learned. That's how I've always learned. If I wanted to know how something worked, and I was curious, my dad showed me how things worked, so I wanted to know how everything worked. Well, if a car works this way, and okay, the lawnmower works on the same premise as the car. It's a combustion engine. So I should be able to take this thing apart and see all the working parts. The same with the human body. They're all designed just alike. It takes energy and turns it into something else. But the most powerful thing is the mind and the observer. Again, I can't tell you how much the observer affects the experiment. But the observers are doing nothing but observing the television and the radio, the media, the billboards. It's everywhere. Programming, it's bait. There's bait everywhere. There's so much food, mind food on this planet is bait. And none of it's fit to eat. But you got your own source. You got your own cell phone to God right inside your own head, if you just learn how to use it. And, we all learn in a different way. Some of us are verbal, some of us are audible, and some of us, we have to be hands-on. We learn from experience. Experience is the best teacher. That's why we're here. We're here to learn from experience. So you have to live it. And they want to keep us in our little boxes, watching our little boxes. They've squared everything off. But all that's going to change. They know it, they're afraid. And they want to make you afraid. They've actually learned how to harness the fear. Go figure. They've learned how to harness your fear. Now many of them are finding themselves in the same position. And when we do move into this age of air, the air age they gave us is the false air. It's false. We're coming into a pneumatic air power. They call it air force. The power of the spoken word, that air power. The power of we can change reality. But we can only do it if we start with ourselves. And then our world change. Maybe we walk into a different Mandela reality and leave all this behind. There is no death. Energy can't die. It can only change from one form to another. It's the understanding and harnessing of that change that we need to be addressing, and to use it only on ourselves, not others. You can share knowledge with others, but it is up to them to do their own work. We're told to take up our cross and follow Him daily. Just 1 hour a day can change your life. You can drastically change your life by fasting. The sweat lodge, it's an artificial mimic way of a woman going through menopause. Y'all need to start paying attention to these crazy women going through menopause. we wake up to a lot. Once we get a grip on the depression and pull ourselves together, when we stop freaking out because the water in our body's changing, the hormones are flushing themselves out, our body's in almost like a survival-like mode, and we can easily lose our minds. I mean, I wanted to step out in front of a train. I'd had enough. I was really going to do it. And I was so sad. The melancholy, the sadness for no reason was unimaginable. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But once I understood it was a water imbalance, that Mars retrograde was killing me, and get that water balance right, then the depression stops. And then when you understand it's a water balance and an electrolyte problem, right? You got an electrolyte problem. Your brain's not firing right. You start to lose the grip. But once you get all that straight, and you've thrown all of this feminine water you've been carrying around your whole life that made you a woman, it's what makes you female. And you throw that off, and it's like going back to before puberty. And you become, again, very open to the nature of this reality. The animals talking to you, responding to you. You can look at a butterfly or a bird in a tree and have it fly down to you to acknowledge you. Connecting back with nature. Disconnecting from the matrix. Go plant a garden this year. You want to help nature, then help nature. Help the true nature of reality. Try to plant something every day. If I could, I understand Johnny Appleseed in a way now. Go plant a tree every day. And but understand, at this point, we're only balancing darkness because we're between two ages. And it's going to snap, and everything will pop into place, and we're coming into the age of the unmovable, unshakable race of humanity. And they began being born right after the battle of water and air in the Pacific Theater. That was a ritual that designated everybody born after that time. They call them baby boomers. You are the first that are born between ages, but the first of this age to come that we're slowly walking into. It's almost like a crawl. We would need to live 3 lifetimes to be able to see the change complete. And we can't trust a bit of history. Look, everybody I know but my grandparents were born in a time of television. It's always been here. And it's always been here. We don't know anything before TV is true. We don't know this. All of the voices of the past have been silenced, or their words have been scribbled. We know nothing. The only thing we can truly know is ourselves. I don't know that any of you are true, are real. I don't. I don't know if the people living next door to me are real. To me, everybody, 100%, can be non-player characters. It dawned on me when I was very young, because it didn't appear to me that anybody in my family was awake, but maybe my dad, and he was refusing to acknowledge it. But this is all fake, and none of you are real. You're all part of the program to me. I am just in some virtual reality. I'm laying on some bed somewhere with the headgear on. And this is all Caprica for you Battlestar Galactica fans. Now there's a double take at what simulation and reality is, and we are repeating the fractal. Is the prequel to Battlestar Galactica, which was Caprica. What happened, not what happened after Battlestar Galactica, what happened before. That's what we need to know. Not what happened in Genesis, what happened before. Why is everything Why are we doing this again? Why was there a void, an overthrow, a catapult? What happened that caused darkness to be on the face of the deep? And my understanding, it's all toroidal, and we flipped on the inside of the donut. We catapulted over, and now we're on the inside of the donut. And when the stars are just the holes in the donut, letting the light from the outside in, as it spins around in its forever eternal toroidal self. And then when we flip on the outside of the donut, the sky becomes white and the stars become black. There's always an inside out. But the question has always been the same. Which way is out? And it's not up, it's not down. It's not left and it's not right. It's not south, east, north, or west. There's only one way out. And that's within. You go within, you implode in your own universe, and then the sky's no longer the limit. There are no limits. The only limits are the ones we impose upon ourselves. And to me, that's exactly what this construct is. It's a construct of limitations that we've imposed upon ourselves. Our government mimics this. Law mimics this. You know, and back in the 80s, when we had the Saturn-Jupiter eclipse, and it was in the Reagan years, and Reagan run around hollering, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. Well, now here we are in the other age of the Saturn-Jupiter eclipse, and Trump is hollering, build that wall. Do you see? Do you see? It's all repetitive. It all repeats, but with variables. And we can know the patterns. The eclipse, when two come together, that's a conjunction. What's your function? It's hooking up pieces. It's how we string the script along. You making words and sentences and compound words and eclipses, and you're bringing the script along. It's part of the change. You know, biblically, we talk about, now here in America, when eclipses run, they run in 7-year patterns. We got one eclipse running, it ran from, the last eclipse was from the northwest to the southeast. This one's going to be from the southwest to the northeast, and it's going to make a big X. All right? And it's going to do it in a 7-year period. It's 7 years between these two eclipses. We have 7 years of Jacob's trouble. But we also have the 7 years of plenty before the change into the 7 years of famine. There's always a give and a take. Dr. Doolittle, push me, pull you. I had a Dr. Doolittle doll when I was little. I had a Miss Beasley doll and a Dr. Doolittle doll, two of the talking dolls. They were the only toys I had. I remember having a bear when I was really young, but they took it from me. They told me it was nasty. That it destroyed me. I really related to my toys, my two dolls. And the Dr. Doolittle was my favorite because I related to him. And now today I can look back at Dr. Doolittle and I get the stories behind it and the different natures of reality, and how when we dig into the ground or into history, we come up with all these different assumptions and tales because of the extraordinary things we're finding. But every time the sun makes its eastern appearance in a different constellation, everything about the nature of this reality changes. We're forever asking questions. We have to rediscover every time. We're moving from water power, hydroelectric, to pneumatic, wind power. That's why the Tudors changed their name to Wind Czar. They want to be the czars of the wind, the prince of the power of the air. False prince indeed. Symbolism is important. The mutable cross. Pisces and Gemini. A lot of these symbols are almost inverted from each other. One of them is the two lines this way with the one line. And you can look at that as one line, just block it in, darken it in, the square. But it's almost this symbol with a piece missing, with one piece missing. And that brings us to sigil magic, and where symbols, alphabets, and all that come from. And it's really the building blocks. You can call it the original code for everything with sigil magic. It's beyond alphabets. It's beyond what we call cursive magic. It's a creative magic, actually, is sigil magic. And all of the symbols are built in a certain way. They are masculine or feminine. And they show both sides. They're going to show both sides. This symbol goes with this symbol. It's its opposite. And then you have these opposites that are opposite these opposites. They all oppose, but they're all one. It's one cross. It's like the fixed stage. The lion man, the Sphinx, he's one, right? But he's at opposition. Fire, masculine, is opposite air, masculine. Earth, feminine, is opposite water, feminine. But they're one. It's like the magnetic pole, north and south. In the physical world, opposites attract. In the spiritual world, opposites oppose. Like mind attracts. It is reversed. Now, we are spiritual and physical. I'm going to just say this over and over again. That you're in the carnal veil. This is the carnal body. You are not a person having a spiritual experience. Don't think when you go into meditation, you don't look at yourself as trying to achieve a spiritual experience. You are already a spirit. That is having a carnal experience. The deal is, when you go in, is to be yourself. You're already the spirit. You're the spirit. You. Consciousness. You can't touch it. I'm sure that they could actually come up, that somewhere in the light spectrum, consciousness can be seen. Like when we look at neurons firing in the brain, they set off this little blue light. That's us. That's us in the mind of God, in this cosmic mind, where those little blue lights of neuron fire in the brain of the mind of God. For lack of a better word, I don't even like the word God. It's an invented word, and it's a title, actually. I'd much rather have a name, and I don't know the name. We're told there's nobody before it to give it a name. But we can know characteristics, and it is a force that allows all. All is within. All is within the mind. It's in different chambers. We have a subconscious mind, so does the cosmic mind. We have a higher mind, so does the cosmic mind. We have a conscious mind, so does the cosmic mind. We have an imagination, so does the cosmic mind. That's the creative force, the imagination. It's what's between the conscious mind. It pulls from both. The imagination can pull from the conscious mind or the subconscious mind to create your own personal reality, because everything is relative. It's personal to you. It's from your perspective, the seat you're in. We can only sit in one chair at a time around the table. We can't walk in all 12 pairs of shoes at once. This is a single experience. And then in between the ages, those are even the fine line that very few get to experience. Very few get to be there at the event horizon. But a lot of us have showed up for this one. And we should be very excited about it. But they want to make us very afraid and harness that fear. But now we see, now the veil is coming down. So we see the reason they're doing all this is because they're the ones that are afraid. Fear has a density to it and a weight. It's like that bag of rocks you carry around on your back. There's a density to fear. And it's part of this carnal world. Darkness fears the light. The light dispels it. You can bring light into a dark room and dispel the darkness, but you can't take darkness into a room where there's light. You can only take an object. You can take a physical object and create a shadow or a space of shadow. But you can still see in that space. It's only a shadow. It doesn't change the space. But, we're told, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and God said, let there be light. And this light is very different. This is a dispelling light. It's like the light that goes off in your head. Ding! It's that age of Sagittarius. In the beginning, God, Capricorn, said, let there be light. Sagittarius, the illuminated mind. The illuminated mind. It's that light in the head. That ta-da! That voila! It's the idea of creation. Or in this case, recreation. It's in the same place. It's like rebooting the program, or up, as we change ages, it's like going from Windows 98 to, 95, 98, Millennium to 2000 NT, Vista, just going through it all. 7, 8, 10, they just skip over 9. They skipped over 9. 9's an important number. 9 is the inverted 6 in glyphs and sigil magic. The nature of reality in eclipses. Eclipses are conjunctions, and they have their functions. It's to bring things together. To compound, to make the two one. To compound, like they did with the Twin Towers. Same ritual. It's a ritualistic event in the heavens. And the sun and the moon were created on the 4th day, and they were created for signs and for seasons, to tell the time. They are the two hands on the clock that tell you what time it is. And when the two hands on the clock come together, it's midnight. Or it's 1:05, right? When the two hands come together on the clock. We're looking for the two hands to come together on the clock at midnight, right? And then the new day can begin. The new day begins in darkness. In the beginning, there was darkness, that void, that darkness. After everything was overthrown. All things begin in darkness. My life here began in the darkness of the mind. I had to put on the mask of the face, the body, and open my eyes to this light. The sun is not the real sun. It's a construct on top of a construct on top of a construct. That thing in the sky changes every time it moves into a different power source. It's getting its source. It has a source. Energy doesn't die. It just changes from one form to another. It's changing. And eclipses mark points. The sun and the moon were created before we were. They're that important to the program. They're told. You're told. The first thing you're told in Revelation is that they're created for signs. Not created for light, not created for creation, not created to make things grow, not created so that we could see, but so that we could see the signs. And then the seasons. The signs of the seasons. They're there for your benefit. The Bible is telling you before man was ever created, astrology was created. The signs in the sun, the moon, the stars, and upon the earth, perplexity of nations. As it was in the beginning, so will be in the end. You need to learn to read the signs. The signpost ahead. Frickin' Twilight Zone. We're in the Twilight Zone. The twilight, the event horizon. It's always darkest before the dawn. But we can see in twilight. We can't see the sun yet, but we can see it coming. We can see the sun coming. And they gave us, here comes the sun. But they've given you a false sun. This false sun, in my opinion, variable with the earthquake and tsunami we had, but it's going to last 72 years. That's its phase. Cycling in and cycling out. And then we don't move into the black sun. You might get a flicker, but it's the red sun that comes with the black sun. They are one. They are one. And it's called the Golden Age. On its axis pole, if the earth is in the age of Aquarius, the heavens are in the age of Leo. We get our golden sun. It's the age of the sun. Everybody's bitching about sun worship. It's going to be at its highest point in the next age, because the sun will be in Aquarius, and that's what everybody's been waiting on. Not Orion in the east, but Aquarius in the east. They're on the same fixed cross. They're on the same fixed cross. That's that immovable race of humanity. It has all the characteristics of the other crosses. Water, earth, fire, and air, but it's fixed. It's immovable. It's unshakable. And it will join itself with the cardinal cross, which is the Grand Master. You have the Adept, the mutable. The Master is the fixed, and the Grand Master is the cardinal, the Most High. And they will become one. Conjunction, junction, eclipse, bringing the two together. And we see it happening. They keep repeating this ritual over and over. They've inverted it in the physical world. In the physical world, right, opposites attract. Spiritual world, like mind attracts. Opposites repel in the spiritual world. That's why people of like mind hate each other. I mean, of unlike mind. Flat earthers versus round earthers. It's ideology. It's Sagittarius ideology. And boy, people need to be putting off. Right now with Pluto and Sagittarius, everybody needs to get rid of everything you know. Forget everything you think you believe and make room for something new. And instead, they're making the wrong new thing. Oh, this is the flat earth is the new way, baby. Well, all you can do is prove flat Earth. What about the rest of it? To me, I'm going to say again, it's eyeball Earth. But you'll never convince me that we're on a frisbee or a flat plane construct simply because of the way the planets go retrograde and the way you can watch it in your telescope. That requires what you call spherical trigonometry or spherical geometry. And there are, as Ezekiel said, there are wheels within wheels, circles within circles. We watch them turn. We can watch Jupiter turn. Get your telescope, your naked eye. I don't care if it is a simulation. It's following a pattern. It's part of the script. You need to know what it means. Just like when the sun and the moon eclipse, you need to know what that means. You also need to know what it means when Saturn and Jupiter conjunct or eclipse. And suddenly at that point, Jupiter becomes Nibiru, trying to put on Saturn's crown. And we have this whole group out there. The Nibiru, Planet X people, and the Flat Earthers are at total war with each other. It's worse than the Christians and the Muslims. And they're all fighting because they think the dice only has the number they see on it. Everybody's got a dice. My number says 3. What does yours say? If mine says 3, then if you're opposite me, yours says 4, because they always add up to 7. If I put mine with yours, we get to 7. I'm a 3, you're a 4. He's a 5, she's a 1. He's a 6 and a 1, a 5 and a 2, and a 3 and a 4. The opposites together always add up to 7. Have I gotten off track? Eclipse, conjunction, junction. Learn the function. It's the beginning of something new. They are put there for signs and wonders, so that we can wonder, all right, because we don't have the e-manual. That's what I'm trying to do. To me, I found the e-manual, and it's realizing that the Bible is an astrology book. The black and white words are from the ages gone by. The red words are for the age to come. My biggest problem with the church is they can't seem to differentiate between the age of grace and the age of karma. You reap what you sow. I'm a good person and I've been a good person, but I'm not reaping anything good. Well, you're not walking in karma. You're walking in grace. Nobody promised you anything. Nobody said there'd be the only payoff you get in the age of grace is you can be forgiven for your sins. That's it. There's your payoff. Mercy. You won't be thrown in hellfire. But to walk in karma, you reap what you sow. That's walking in Aquarius. Those are 2 different ages with 2 different gods that oppose each other. And then, like the sun and the moon oppose, but then we see them come together. And then it becomes a spiritual event. When it's like forcing the 2 ends of the magnet together, and they don't want to come together, and you force them together. And it creates this spark. There's this power there. You can feel them repelling each other as you try to put them together. It's the same with the sun and the moon. There's great power and force there. It's how do we harness it? How do we harness that power? We do it collectively, but we start individually. You must junction your own damn function and go within and meet your higher self. Let the 2 become one. Let the inner and the outer become one. Know thyself, and then the reality that you walk into will be beyond Mandela affected. You might even be able to control it.